Hi, Adam from Audio Imperia. We are very pleased to announce the latest addition to our chorus lineup, Chorus FX. Recorded in the same space and with the same 48-piece choir as the rest of Chorus, Chorus FX adds an extra dimension to your choir with a set of male, female, and full ensemble effects, including loops, risers, shorts, and a set of sustained effects. Chorus FX gives users access to the same 4 microphone positions, as well as the 3 mixers seen within Chorus and Chorus Lite, including the same collaboration with 2-time Grammy Award-winning producer, mixer and scoring mixer, Scott Michael Smith. Chorus FX will be available as a standalone product at $99, sitting alongside both Chorus and Chorus Lite. However, it will also be included within the full version of Chorus, which will remain in our catalogue at $4.99. This means that all existing Chorus owners will be getting a free content update of their library to now include Chorus FX. This update to Chorus version 1.1 will be available via a reinstall of the library within native access. We are also extending our cross-grade discount offer over to Chorus FX. Any purchase of Chorus FX will give customers their purchase price as credit towards the full version of Chorus. This offer will apply to both Chorus FX and Chorus Lite, meaning you can stack multiple cross-grade deals together for an even bigger saving. Now, let's take a look at what's inside Chorus FX. In Chorus 1.1, we now have these 2 folders. We have the Core Articulations folder, which contains all of the pre-existing articulations from Chorus, but we also have this Effects folder as well, and this is where we put the various articulations from Chorus FX. So let's have a little look at some of these, and let's start with the loops. Let's start with the men's loops and have a listen to some of these. So these are the chicky effects. These are like a rhythmic motor effect, and we also have an accented version of this too, which is accenting the first and third beats of the bar. And these are great as just really good rhythmic effects, almost percussive effects, but not using percussion instruments. So they're great if you want an alternative to traditional percussion, or you want an extra layer to put over the top of percussion, or you generally want a sort of vocal rhythmic sound that's going to add a lot of texture to your pieces. Let's have a listen to some of the other male loops. So we have these tickies, and we also have a slower version here. And we also have these clock sounds too. So these tonal tick-tocks and also atonal tick-tocks too, the whispered versions. These are great. They're quite creepy, quite tense. I could really imagine using these in kind of horror or thriller pieces just to add a lot of tension, and having those 2 different varieties work really well. Let's have a little look at the women's syllables too. So we have much the same layout here. We have these chicky sounds. We also have the tickies too. And the clock syllables as well. And it's worth mentioning that all of these are tempo syncable, so they will sync up to your host tempo, and you can change the tempos in real time. That's going to add a lot of options. If you have a piece that's moving around in speed or tempo, that will automatically sync and create these really interesting layered rhythmic textures. Okay, now let's take a look at these risers. Let's have a look at the female risers. So we've got a whole different variety of options here. Let's start with the basic 1-bar riser. So you can hear this adds a lot of really cool texture. This would be a very different riser to your usual string risers or synth risers. It's not very often you hear vocal risers, and they're so useful. They add so much excitement and a lot more of a human quality than you might usually expect. And we've got 2- and 4-bar varieties of these as well. So these are longer and drawn out over a longer duration of time. And we also have a vibrato version of these risers too. Now, this is great if you want to add just that extra layer of excitement, or you want a more textured sound. The vibrato is really going to add a lot of extra feeling to these. So that's great. It adds almost a slight rhythmic quality and brings a lot more excitement. Let's just check out one more of these. Let's have a look at the jungle texture rises. So you can see a lot of different options, a lot of different choices, and each one of these articulations is bringing something slightly different to the table, but they're all providing a lot of options for excitement. These work great as transition effects or as big build-ups to the end of maybe a climax of a piece. And as I say, these are really useful. You often get these in strings and synths, but having vocal rises, I think, is a really great arsenal in your composing toolkit. Okay, so we've had a look at some of the women's rises. Let's now take a look at some of the men's rises. So I move over to the men's rises. So let's take a look at this THX unison to random. Now, I'm sure when you hear this, this is going to need no introduction. You're going to recognize this sound. So yeah, very well known, really useful type of articulation. Sounds great, particularly on these voices. Let's have a look at some of the other varieties of the THX rises that we got here. We've got the random to unison. So that's something of a reverse on the previous articulation. Now let's take a look at one of these with vibratos. As we said earlier, vibrato is going to add an extra layer of tension and excitement, and the voices are gently undulating to create that. So really great, powerful textures there, really interesting articulation. Finally, let's look at some of these. These are great. These are the pedal versions of these THX rises, and these are some of my favorites. Let's have a listen to these. So you can see throughout that articulation, we have a pedal note that's kind of sustaining this tone, creating this really solid center around which everything else is undulating. And finally, let's take a look at the random to unison version. Just a lot of really cool, sometimes quite creepy texture there. Let me just show you a really cool trick that we can do inside of Pyramid Engine. So if I go to our Advanced tab here, and I go to the right and click on this section here, you can see that we have this transpose and range function. Now this will allow me to extend the tonal range of these. So if I click on this, and then I click here, you can see that I can bring these down, and this is adding these yellow keys up and down. And this is going to give me even more options tonally, so I can play these in slightly different pitch ranges now. So you see we have a lot of flexibility to play up and down the keyboard here, and you can go even lower than that if you wanted to. There's going to be a point where these start to sound slightly warped and strange, so you can't take it too far. Although having said that, if you want to use these for sound design or try and create some really strange textures and atmospheres out of them, feel free to play around and see what you come up with. Now let's take a look at some of our shorts. So I've loaded up the ensemble shorts patch here. So this is the women and the men combined. So the full force of that 48-piece choir. Let's start by having a look at some of the body percussion. So we have these great claps, and these are going to be really useful for just accenting certain beats, maybe creating some interesting percussions and grooves. We can do a similar thing with the finger clicks, which are going to be a slightly shorter, more transient, higher pitch sound. And then we have these big stomps, these big feet stomps. So these huge thunderous stomps that would be great for adding huge downbeats and really, really impactful textures to your music. Let's have a look at some of the other effects we have here. So these are the vocal sounds. We have these shouts. We also have these sh sounds. So we have short sh. These are nice. They're almost like a white noise, almost like a cymbal texture, but with the voice. So that's a really interesting sound. And we have the ha's as well. So more elongated versions, slightly softer. And then we have these diminuendo effects as well. So these would be great at maybe the end of pieces or the end of a phrase, just to add a lot of emphasis and decrescendo naturally. And we have the ha version of those too. And it's also worth noticing that we have the round robin customization on here. Now, we're not going to talk about this here. We're going to talk about it a bit later, but this is a really useful feature for crafting these sounds and getting the most out of them. Finally, let's have a look at some of our sustained articulations. Now, I'll stick with the ensembles here, and we'll start with these airy ritual sounds. So these are great as a kind of slightly ethereal, tense, maybe slightly unnerving texture. Would work great as a drone or a kind of pad to just sort of ride underneath your music and create these interesting textures. And we also have a tonal version of these called tonal rituals. So equally unnerving, equally kind of scary. You know, you could really use these in some great horror settings. Let's move on to these jungle savage textures. So these are great, as you can hear, a lot more exciting, a lot more visceral, a lot more sort of action-packed, if you like. And these would be great for putting in music where you really want these, you know, very human, sort of exciting textures to be riding out over the top. Let's have a look at the evil laughs. And a similar thing here, but taken up to another degree. You could almost imagine these as kind of witchy incantations in some kind of horror film or horror score. These would be perfect for that kind of thing. Let's move on a bit and have a look at these super fast ticky-tickies. So they're similar to the tickies we heard earlier, but as you can hear, they're a lot faster, a lot more frenetic. So these would be great as a kind of really unnerving bed, slightly percussive bed in your music. Now let's move on to look at some of the other sustained articulations here, and let's look at these body percussion textures. So let's start with this rain sound here. Really interesting rain effect, and what's great about this is it's controllable via the mod wheel, so if I use that. We can really ride the dynamics in this texture and create some movement and some crescendo and decrescendo in them. And we can take that up a level with our rain and thunder sounds. So let's have a listen to that. So as you can hear, that's the rain, but with these extra foot stomps and other sound, creating a lot more texture, making it a bit more menacing, a bit more thunderous. Let's take a look at the 2 bars thunder. So it has a really nice diminuendo there. That would be great for maybe finishing off a piece or a phrase with this rhythmic sound. And then finally, let's have a look at the 4 bars thunder. A similar thing, but just elongated over 4 bars to give you more options when you're composing. And finally, let's have a look at these cluster textures. Now, these are classic vocal clusters, and we split them into high and low. So let's listen to high first. great sustained cluster sounds, and let's listen to the low variety. So these would be fantastic for adding sustained pad-like clusters to your music. They're great in horror, great for thrillers, any of those kinds of nervous, scary sounding pieces. These will add a lot of value. For Chorus FX, the team has included our round robin selector. First seen within Constrictor, this system allows you to select the specific round robins you want present or not present within your own personal instrument. For atonal articulations, it also allows you to experiment and find your favoured round robin within each particular articulation, giving you confidence and control over the specific sound you want for your compositions. Let's have a look at how it works. The number of round robins available for each articulation can be seen here in the round robin circles. As we change articulation, the number of available round robins changes within the selector. As a key is repeated within an articulation, the active round robin is coloured yellow. Clicking a round robin deactivates it and shows a hollow circle within the selector. Now, as we cycle through the round robins, the deactivated ones will not be triggered. This is especially useful if you find one round robin particularly out of place, or you find a favourite one that you want to remain the same throughout your composition. Enabling the Select Round Robin via key switch button toggles a separate set of purple keys to appear within your contact keyboard. Now, every round robin is available as a key switch and will automatically trigger as a solo round robin when selected this way. The round robin selector can be triggered either through each articulation or the individual keys within the range for further customization. This way, you can customize and tailor your instrument to your own style. So that's Chorus FX, our brand new choral effects library. Sitting alongside the rest of our Chorus lineup, as well as a free content update to the full version of Chorus, Chorus FX brings an extra dimension to your vocal writing capabilities. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.